Hello, hello. Michelle Perta here, life and marriage coach for moms. Today, I'm going to be talking about a topic that has been a really popular one in my marriage and motherhood community, and that is about unfairness with household chores when it comes to you and your partner. So, here we go. This is a really, really good topic. And I think a lot of you will benefit from tuning in because this is something you're likely encountering on a daily basis. Okay, let's get into it. So, Linnea posted asking for help. She's asking for tools and methods to help avoid unnecessary friction in her marriage when it comes to dividing up chores evenly. Now, I asked you all to share more about your experience, what you've tried, so I can better understand how I can support you through this because I don't want you to have unnecessary friction. I don't want you to have any unnecessary conflict. And chores come up all the time, like you do them every day. And so I can imagine how much stress and frustration and heaviness this is causing in your relationship. So I have put together the reasons why you may be encountering these things, as well as things that you should be doing instead, and some ideas on how you can start to reduce and see the change that you want to see when it comes to this area. I also do want to share one other mom's situation when it comes to this, because I thought hers was something that you all could resonate with as well. She said she'll try and get things done while he thinks it's cutting into his relaxation time. And she doesn't understand how he can just chill on the weekends where she's constantly feeling like there's something to do um, or something to take care of. And it all comes down to her to decide what needs to be done. And she's tried telling him what to do, but he doesn't like to be ordered around. And she ends up nagging or doing it because he isn't doing it quickly enough or to her standards. And so she'll end up trying to get it done instead so it could fulfill what she wants it to be like. Let me know in the comments if this is something that you can relate to. Okay. This was Roxy actually. I felt like what Roxy shared is something that is a very common sentiment amongst moms. And I know that my mom does that. I know that I have done that in the past. And so I'm going to dive into this so that you can stop feeling this way. Okay. So here are two potential reasons why you are not receiving, I don't want to say help. I don't want to say help because this is not your job. Okay. This is the job of both of you to take care of the house. You both live in it, so you both take care of it. But there are two potential reasons why you're not receiving the level of effort or support. Support's kind of like help, but I think you know what I'm saying. Why you're not getting it from your husband. Okay, so simply put, and I'll expand more on this later, it's either you're not asking or your approach to asking. Okay, now let me expand on that before you're like, I've asked. Okay, so if you're not asking, this could look like not posing it as a question or a request. Telling someone to do something is not asking them to do it. And if your husband is like Roxy's husband or like me, and you don't like to be told what to do, that's not going to go over well. Okay. You are trying to fulfill the role of his partner, his wife. You are not his mom. You don't have to tell him what to do. I'm going to touch more on that in the approach to asking part. But moving on to another reason why not asking is leading to you not getting the support or the help or the effort that you want. You're not sharing the importance of why you're telling him or asking him to do this thing. Okay, so here's an example. If you say, take the trash out, and then compare it to, can you start taking the trash out on a weekly basis so that I can then work on this at the same time and we can finish cleaning out the house earlier so we can spend time together? Or can you do X so that I can do, feel, whatever? Okay. Whether it's you wanting to feel more energized to spend time with him, not wanting to fall asleep, um, feeling more connected and supported by him so that you are more likely to want to have sex. If it helps you feel like he loves you, like that's a way that he could show you he loves you. What is the importance of what you're asking him to do? It's not as simple as what he may be making it out to, right? He could be like, what's the big deal? I didn't take the trash out. I do all of these other things, which by the way, he is doing stuff. It's just stuff that you may not prioritize. And so to you, it's not important. And so you may be assuming in your mind that because he's not doing the things that are popping out at you, that he's not helping. But that's not the case, right? Like for my example, for my situation, my husband handles all like the house stuff, right? Like backyard stuff, garage stuff, car stuff, fixing things, all things I don't ever think about. And I wouldn't prioritize until it's like broken or something, right? Or something's like causing a safety issue. But it's still contributing towards our lifestyle. And I have a luxury of not having to think about it because he now owns it. Whereas things that he may not be mindful of is like the effort I put into meal planning, grocery buying, making sure we're all eating a really healthy, well-balanced meal every day. Um, planning for the kids, like, oh, they're going to need these kind of snacks because of school, or we're going to need these kind of snacks because we're going to go hiking. Like he may not have that at the top of his mind because it's already taken care of. And so if you have a history of taking care of something, guess what? You have provided him the luxury of not having to think about it. So when you ask him to do something that he has never had to do or rarely has ever had to do, it's not as in his routine or habit to do it. So it's going to take time. And men, actually, scratch that. Everyone needs to have proper motivation to do something outside of what they normally do. And so, what that motivation looks like is, why is this important to you? So, ask yourself, when you think about the things that you're nagging him to do, why is it important to you for him to do those things? And why does it bother you so much that he doesn't do it? Okay, those are two very important questions to answer for yourself. What does it mean to you if he does not ever do that? What does it mean to you? Dig deep and understand, because that is your reason why it matters so much. And it could mean something that you're not giving to yourself, like maybe you need to step up and give yourself more permission to give yourself whatever it is that you need, whether it's more self-care, whether I don't know, your own love, your own support, whatever it is, figure it out and then talk to him. Because you telling him, I'm mad at you that you didn't take the trash out, just makes you look ridiculous. Okay. But you're not ridiculous. It's just because you're not taking the time to pause and consider why you're really upset below the surface level of you didn't take the trash out. Okay. Because if your kids got mad at you, or if your husband got mad at you and said, hey, you didn't take the trash out last night, you'd be like, okay, right? There's an impact to you not doing that or him not doing it, whichever way you want to look at it. So you have to understand, well, what is that impact? And what does that mean to you? And what belief are you holding because of that? Are you holding a belief that he doesn't love you, he doesn't care about you, that you're not worth it, that there isn't hasn't been a time where someone has gone the extra mile for you and you've always felt like you haven't been good enough to have that special feeling from someone, to be cherished, to be honored, to be doted on? Like, what is it? There's so much more to it than just he's not doing his chores or he's not supporting me. Okay, let's go underneath that. Figure it out. That's your key. Okay. Um, the last thing about not asking is you're not being specific enough. So this is like all text right now. Okay. When I say you're not being specific enough, I want you to consider different roommates that you've lived with over your life. Okay. Now, when it comes to living with people that you did not grow up with, okay? Because what you grew up with is like your norm, your standard, right? Well, once you move out of the house and you live with someone different or multiple people, like let's say in college, right? Dorm life or apartment life in college, or even after college. Have you ever had a situation where your roommate is either cleaner or messier than you? And why is that? We all have different standards. Not everyone grew up in your household. Okay, so we all have different standards. And so when we're not specific enough about what it means to achieve something, when we're not making it clear on what the goal is and what it means to be successful in attaining that goal, you simply saying clean the kitchen is not specific enough. In your mind, you can view cleaning the kitchen as cleaning out the sink, clearing out the disposal, the garbage disposal, putting down a lemon peel in there to make it smell fresh, sanitizing the counters, cleaning the stove, wiping down the face of the appliances. Okay, right? Are you getting me? He could be like, oh, I cleared the dishes and the sink is empty. And I turned on the dishwasher. Both are true in that you clean the kitchen, but the definition of clean is different. You get me? So you have to be specific about what your definition is, what you mean by cleaning the kitchen. Okay. But again, we want to stay away from being mom because we're not trying to play into the mom role. This is where you need to agree on the standard. What does it mean to you to have things clean? What does it mean to him to have things clean? What can you agree on is an acceptable version of clean? And this may require some compromising, okay? Because at the end of the day, whoever cares more, guess what? That's your responsibility. So you either accept it or you go the extra mile and you finish the job. Unless he's like, okay, I get it. It's super important to you and I'm willing to do more than what I want, then fantastic. But it's going to fall on the person who cares more about it being cleaner. And this is always the case, right? Even when it comes to your sex life, whoever has the lower drive controls the sex life. So same thing with cleaning. The person who cares less controls how clean it is. Okay, unless you are willing to take it on because it matters that much to you that you're like, forget it. I'm just going to do it. Okay. Next is agreed upon timeline. Remember, we're trying to stay away from telling them what to do. And what would that look like instead? That would look like requesting. That would look like talking about it and agreeing. So when it comes to timeline, you're not going to be like, can you do this right now? Because you don't know what he's up to. You don't know if he is like carving out this time to relax. You don't know that he is wanting to wind down for the night. You don't know if he's about to jump into a work thing. You don't know, like, you have no idea what he's doing. And so for you to be like, I'm deciding how you spend your time, that's not going to be received well. And so agree on a timeline, but also get his buy-in. when would be a good time? Like, when do you think you can get this done by? It'd be great if you can finish it by this, so that, right, whatever your reason is, don't just like come up with some arbitrary timeline just because, right? Like, if you need him to go to the grocery store because you're having people over, that's a concrete timeline to fulfill, right? Like, okay, obviously you need groceries to do whatever you need to do to set up for people coming over. And so then you can communicate that, right? I hear often from my clients, like, oh, well, I said this. Okay, but did he know what else you're thinking? Like the millions of other things that you're planning in your head, but you have not communicated. I'm not saying like just like verbally regurgitate everything you're thinking, but he needs to know what he needs to know so that he can make the best decision for the family or for you two, for himself. Trust me in that he does not want to piss you off because it makes his life harder. It makes his life less fun. So consider where your part in this might be. Is it that you're not asking? Is it that you're telling? Is it you're not being more specific enough? Right? There are so many places where things can go off track, where there could be misinterpretations, misunderstandings. Okay. The second thing is, if you are asking and you're actually posing it as a question, not the dishes need to be done, because that's not asking anything, that's just stating a fact, right? That's being passive about asking. Okay. So if you're actually asking and you are still not getting the level of effort that you're wanting from him, it could be your approach. It could be that you're coming off as nagging. It could be that you're telling him what to do versus requesting, right? Hey, this needs to get done. Do you think you can do that? Or would you rather do this? Like, it could be, so this is not delegating. This is like, okay, this is what we have to do. So consider yourselves like co-captains, okay? You guys are partners, right? You guys are in this together. It's not that you're delegating, it's that, every meeting has a meeting leader. It doesn't mean that they are the boss. Everyone has their strengths. So consider this your strength, okay? Okay, so these are all the things that I know to be in the scope of taking care of the house. Okay, does anyone else have anything to add? Kind of like in a school setting, right? Like in the beginning of the year, the teacher or works with the students to come up with classroom rules. It's kind of like that, right? You're co-creating what needs to be done. So what this list is. So you may think that you have the entire list, but I'm sure he will have things to add too, like trimming the hedges, mowing the lawn, checking the pipes in the winter, checking the ferns, like things that you don't normally do. Okay. And yes, men's tasks tend to be less often, more like periodic, whereas women typically have a better hold on the daily stuff, which is why it's kind of feels so um, demanding on us, so much pressure on us. But instead of saying you have to do this all on your own, consider it as this is the list of things that we need to do. Okay. So stop acting as if you're the one in charge and you're the only one in charge. So this looks like stop stepping in to take over, stop owning all of the tasks and micromanaging, and have a meeting together. Sit down, have, work together to come up with a full list of what all needs to be done and take turns picking. At the beginning, it's going to look like, okay, well, the thing I don't mind the least to do is this. So it's like, okay, well, I choose cooking because I personally love eating and I love cooking. And so I'm going to pick that, right? Because we got to eat and we don't want to eat out all the time. And then he gets a turn. So he'll probably pick vacuuming because he enjoys vacuuming. Perfect. I hate vacuuming. It worked out, right? And so you just go down the list. And if you have older kids, guess what? Include them, right? Include them. It's a good skill for them to have. It teaches them responsibility. It helps them be a part of the team, but also, much like I was referring to earlier with what you can share about what the impact is with your husband, you could share with your kids. So I've told this to my 11-year-old, like, look, I get that this is not fun. Nobody enjoys doing chores. We all enjoy kicking up our feet at the end of the night. And we cannot do that until everything is done. So you can either choose to go relax the entire time by yourself, wishing you had us to hang out with, or you can chip in and we can finish earlier and then we can all hang out together, right? I'm not saying talk to your husband like that, but you can involve your kids. Right. So now my older son clears the dinner table. Now he takes out the garbage every night. Um, he sanitizes doorknobs and sink handles and whatever, right? Like it's just going to keep at his list of chores will just keep growing. And as the younger two get older, he can then, start to pass them down. So look at it as a team effort and ask yourself, how am I showing up as the sole owner? Where can I take a step back and have more of a team approach so that your husband has the opportunity to step in as co-captain? I'm not saying he's gonna be thrilled about it because let's be honest here, who the hell wants to do chores? Like I do not. If I had a choice, I wouldn't. But also, I want to live in a clean house. So what's my priority here, right? I'll suck it up so that I have a clean house to live in. Okay. So yeah, decide together. Remember, you are co-captains, you are partners, so decide together, list out everything that you guys can think of, and then start dividing it up. Talk about how often it needs to happen, when it'll happen, what you'll each own, because when we individually choose, when we have buy-in, we're more likely to do it versus someone telling us to do it. Okay. And then this could look like something on the fridge. This could look like a shared Google Calendar. This could look like something like a wall calendar. There's a website. I don't remember. If I find it, I'll link it. There's a website with a calendar template where it'll tell you the things to do each day of the week. And you can initial it. You can edit it. You can put each person's name in different colors. You could have a chore wheel if nobody wants to pick any chores and it just wants, you guys want it to be random, like that's cool too. There's so many ways to make this fun. Like you can have different jars of like, daily work, weekly work, monthly work, whatever, and just have people pick out of that jar what to do. Get creative. If this is a real problem in your relationship, pause and get creative, right? Like I love the phrase an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of a cure. So that's by Benjamin Franklin. So this is very much true in this situation, okay? But let's incorporate some real life, right? So Roxy said, okay, I don't understand how he can just chill and relax and say it's cutting into his relaxation time when I'm like, there's so many things to do, okay? This goes back to everyone needing to be able to have some type of autonomy over their own time. So let's inject some real life stuff in here. So knowing that you have all of these things to do and agreeing on how often they need to be done, in general, how your week is going to look, what's coming up, what you tend to do all the time, right? So consider your social life, like when are people going to come over and hang out? When do you guys each like to relax? When do you like to spend family time together? When do you have time to yourself for self-care, right? Fill those times in too, and have have it be flexible in that everyone can choose when they do it, but as long as it's fulfilled by whatever timeline you all collectively agree on, right? Like you can either choose to be like, oh, we all feel more motivated when we work together, in which case, awesome. Throw on your favorite music and have like a whole cleaning hour or half hour or 20 minutes, whatever. And the whole family just cleans super hard and then you hang out afterwards. Or I've heard of actually my sister-in-law and brother-in-law do this or used to do this where they like tag team, right? Like 5 minutes of hard cleaning, and after 5 minutes is done, they tag team and the next person takes over. And then they continue and they just keep going back and forth. So it's not like a long period of time that you're cleaning, but it's still getting done. So you see how there's so many different ways that you can accomplish this. Make it fun. Like I personally like to listen to music when I'm doing dishes because otherwise I hate it. So how can you incorporate more fun into more of the mundane tasks that you have to do every day? So don't make it so boring. Don't make it so heavy. Have fun with it. See what they come up with. Um, Lastly, more on the prevention side, I know a lot of you are like, yeah, they say they're going to do it, and then they don't do it. And then I get mad and I nag and I nag and he gets mad. And eventually I just do it for him. Right. But what does that teach him? That teaches him that if he doesn't do it long enough, you're going to step in and do it for him. In which case, why would he do it? Right? Why would he do it? So have a conversation beforehand. Have the conversation about accountability. Okay, what can we do to hold each other accountable to make sure that this gets done, right? And you guys can take turns on suggesting things and figure out what works and agree on it. And then on an individual level, talk about, okay, what's the best way to approach you when this happens, when something gets forgotten or something has been being put off? What's the best way to approach you about this? So don't wait until it's happened, because at that point, things are probably feeling pretty heated. So talk about it beforehand so that when you do it, he's not like, rah, 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 right? He's like, oh, right. Okay. And if needed, I hope you don't need to. This is where boundaries would have to come into place. Okay. If he's like going back on his word about how you're approaching him or what he agreed to do. But also, when it comes to chores, like life happens, right? So give grace where you can, be flexible. Because I'm sure if you're like having a bad day, or if you're sick or you're tired, you don't want someone to be like, no, 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 you said you were going to do that. Like, you better deliver. Like, no, that would not feel good. That would not be compassionate. Okay. But again, if you're noticing a trend, another meeting. And yeah, check-ins. Check in, see how things are going for everyone, and then tweak it if you need. Figure out what works. And if something doesn't look like it's working, then reassess and change it. Okay. So that is all I have for you. I hope this was helpful. If you have more specific questions about this, I would love to hear. Thanks for tuning in. Bye.